Okay, welcome back. Part 2. Told you we were going to get to this today. I'm dying to try this one. We're going to make a Death by Chocolate sugar-free ice cream for our dessert today. So we have something to eat while we're talking about movies later. We made a bunch of ice creams last year. And two of my favorite ones that we did were homemade Rocky Road and the coffee ice cream that we did. And I know with the Rocky Road for sure, maybe with the coffee too, the best way to make an ice cream base is to make that custardy egg yolk base to make your ice cream, because that really just makes like the super creamiest ice cream, I find anyway. But this is going to be fun because it's a lot of different, now that we're doing the low carb sugar free thing for a while. It's nice to use these different ingredients and see how they come out, okay? So let's just jump right in and get started. We got to make our base because then this has to cool down in the fridge and then we come back later on. That's why you got to start something like this early in the day if you want it for dessert for dinner, okay? So in a saucepan here, I have a pint of heavy cream. And I have a cup and a half of unsweetened almond milk. You can use cashew milk, you can use, as always with our sugar-free stuff, if you want to exchange all of this for the full-fat, full-sugar, regular versions, go right ahead. But this is what we're using today. I think the almond milk is going to add a nice nuttiness to the chocolate in this anyway. So those two things in our pot. And then to that, we're going to whisk in a half a cup of cocoa powder. I'm using this Hershey's Special Dark, which will make it a little richer of a chocolate. I'm going to put this on a low heat too. Okay, because we got to start heating that up. So I'm going to whisk in this cocoa powder. It's 100% cocoa, which is nice, and make sure we're using unsweetened things. Our almond milk was unsweetened almond milk, okay, not the sweetened kind, because that adds sugar to the mix and we don't want to do that. And I'm going to also whisk in a half a cup of Swerve, which is the artificial sweetener that I've been using lately, that I really like a lot because it doesn't have that nasty bitter aftertaste when you use it. You know, some of the other sweeteners I find are just not good at all. So we're going to try this with, I've never made an ice cream with Swerve, so not that you'd get a bitter aftertaste, I would imagine, in ice cream. It's more so with like the baking stuff I find that you get that aftertaste. I don't know though, I've never made ice cream with an artificial sweetener, so maybe the other ones would work fine with this. I don't know. Alrighty, so I'm just going to whisk that all together, and we're going to bring this to that barely simmer heat, you know, like when we make our custards and our lemon curds and all that kind of stuff. You want just a little bit, little bubbles, you know, a little bit of wispy steam coming off it, not rolling boil hot, because we're going to have to whisk temper our eggs to add to this. And you know, if you make your mixture too hot, if it's boiling, bubbling hot, when you go to temper, it tends to cook your eggs, and you don't want to do that. I mean, this is already looking like a thick chocolate mix, but this is really going to thicken up pretty nice, okay? So let me get this to that temperature. In the meantime, while I'm doing that, I'll get another whisk out here, and I have 4 egg yolks, okay, that I'm going to beat in a bowl here, okay? This is the bowl we're going to use to temper once that gets to the heat we want. But you just want to beat your eggs first. Your yolks, just your yolks. Save the whites, breakfast tomorrow. Now, once you have the chocolate and the sweetener all incorporated with this and you're bringing it to that simmer point, switch over to a spatula just to make sure that you can scrape the sides and the bottoms, because you don't want this to burn on the bottom, okay? I mean, you're on a very low heat anyway, but always better to be safe than sorry, okay? Because burnt chocolate is really going to ruin your ice cream, okay? So you just kind of move it around and just scrape the bottom. And also get a instant read thermometer ready, because once you temper the eggs and add that to you're going to temper your eggs and then add this back to the pot and let it cook a little more. You're going to want to get it to a certain temperature, which I'll tell you when we come back. Okay, so my chocolate mixture here has got that little wispiness that I want. I'm going to just drizzle a little bit into my eggs here, a little bit at a time. Good. Okay, and then we're going to whisk that back into the pot. Still on this very low heat, because you don't want to overdo that. Okay. And then this will start to thicken up as it cooks now. I just want to make sure that that's whisked in good. And I'm going to switch back to my spatula because I want to make sure, like I said, I'm scraping the bottoms and sides. Now, you want to cook this till it reaches about 175. And then we'll take it off the heat and we'll add the last couple of ingredients. Okay, now to this, the final thing you're going to add, take it off the heat. I have here 3 ounces of unsweetened chocolate, okay? Like baker's chocolate. You can use the baker's chocolate. I found this one, Dagobah. It's a Star Wars thing. I love it. It's an unsweetened chocolate for baking. It's just a higher, like a higher grade chocolate. It's organic, so that might be really nice. You just chop it up into pieces, 3 ounces, half of that bar, okay? And you just add it to your chocolate mix here, and you just kind of whisk that in, and then just let it sit for a couple minutes because all that chocolate is going to melt and help thicken this up too, okay? So that's it. This comes in later, our vanilla. I got a nice chocolate mess here. We're gonna let that cool down for 5 minutes or so, let the chocolate melt. We'll whisk it, I can't say that word today, till it's all smooth. Then we're going to let it cool down to room temperature, cover it with plastic, and put it in the refrigerator for at least 3 hours. Let this really get cold, and then we'll come back later, get our ice cream machine out, and we'll make some ice cream. I might even throw in, at the very end, some peanut butter to make like a peanut butter swirl in there. That might be kind of cool with the chocolate. You know, chocolate and peanut butter just is perfect together. Alrighty? So we'll see you when we have our ice cream machine out and we're ready to put this all together. Okay, so I broke out my ice cream machine. Got my ice cold cylinder there, which I always keep in the freezer just for when that spur of the moment you feel like making ice cream, because it's really not that hard to make your own. And especially if you're going to do sugar-free, this is the way to go. Alright, so there's my base that's been in my fridge, so that's nice and cold. My freezer thing is ready to go. If you don't have one of these, get one, because they're really not expensive at all. And if you like making your own ice cream, sorbet, sherbets, whatever, it's worth it. Okay, turn it on. And then you just pour your base into your machine. And in about 20-25 minutes, you'll have a nice soft serve. Depends. Sometimes it works a lot faster. If you're going to add anything when you're making ice cream, if you're going to add any kind of like nuts or fruit or anything in there, chunky bits, do that usually after, almost towards the end. When you see it's getting pretty thick, like a thick soft serve, then throw those chunks in just for the last couple minutes, okay? You don't want to do it right in the beginning, because then it just, sometimes they, if it's something that can break down like fruit or something, it'll blend into the ice cream rather than leaving you the chunks if you wanted it chunky. So always wait till the end, okay? Like I was saying, I might throw peanut butter in this, I don't know. I want to wait until it's almost that soft serve consistency, then I'll taste it and see if maybe it would work with some peanut butter, alright? So So leave that on for about 20-25 minutes. Then when it's done, you're going to take it out of here. You've seen me make ice cream before. It's not hard. You're going to take it out of here. I'm going to wash this container out. Put it back in this container. It'll be a soft serve, like I said. And I'll put it back in the freezer for a couple hours just to get hard so it's scoopable. I mean, you can eat it just like that too, soft serve. But it's not soft serve like you can put on a cone. It's kind of like soft serve like mushy. Alrighty, so we'll be back in a little while. Okay, there's my quart of homemade ice cream. A bunch of hours later, okay? Looks pretty good to me. It's nice and dark. Okay, I'll just scoop some of it out here. Now, remember, just because it's sugar-free doesn't mean you can eat the whole quart. Okay, so we're just going to do a nice little taste of it, okay? It's pretty frozen solid. It's probably nice if you let it sit out for a minute or two, just to make it a little looser. But let's give it a taste. It's all about the taste. Looks kind of crumbly, like Dippin' Dots. I don't know. Pretty good though. I mean, for sugar-free. I did do a little peanut butter in it in the last couple minutes of the process. I just decided to throw some in. So, see what happens. So you're getting a little hint of peanut butter. But it's good. You know, it's a dark chocolate. So it's not overly sweet. Kind of got that bittersweety taste to it. But I like it. I think it's good. Okay, anyway. We have movies. Talk about movies. We need our dessert. Talk about movies. So our first movie that we watched this week was Close Encounters. Seen it a bunch of times. So fun to watch it all over again. Sometimes you forget how good these movies are. It's Steven Spielberg. I mean, amazing. Richard Dreyfuss. Just so well done of a movie. Really enjoyed it. If you've never seen it, definitely see it. Because it's very suspenseful and sci-fi-ish all at the same time, you know. Our other movie was Stagecoach, which I forgot was a John Wayne movie. Actually, I kind of liked it, because I'm not a huge fan of John Wayne movies, because he's always like just this pissed off cowboy curmudgeon in everything he's in. And this one he kind of wasn't so bad. It was one of his earlier movies, so it's a young John Wayne too. Okay, here's what we gotta see for this week. The first one, number 62 counting down, 1982's Tootsie. Absolutely love this movie. I'll talk more about it next week. It's Dustin Hoffman. It's got a bunch of people in it. Dustin Hoffman, Jessica Lange, Gina Davis. It's just fantastic a movie. Dabney Coleman. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's so many people in this movie. It's probably in the top 5 of my all-time favorite comedy movies, and probably in my top 10 of movies of all time. It's that good of a movie. But anyway, we'll talk more about it next week. Our other movie is number 61, 1958, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. I remember seeing this one before, and I don't think I was crazy about it for an Alfred Hitchcock movie, because I love Alfred Hitchcock's movies. But this one, I don't know if I was crazy about. I'm going to have to watch it again, and we'll talk about it next week. Okay? So those are 2 movies. Thanks for sticking with us for part 2. Sugar-free, Death by Chocolate peanut butter ice cream. Homemade, sugar-free. And I'll try to come up with something fun for next week. Alrighty? See you then.